efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
101 at KSL News Radio. I'm Heather Peterson. KSL's top story this hour. Lawmakers are set to discuss a bill today that could require mail-in ballots to be returned in person with ID. There would be some exceptions, like for people in the military or living overseas. That bill from Representative Jefferson Burton is being talked about in the House Government Operations Committee later this afternoon. Utah lawmakers will also be looking at a bill that will make it so spouses are not responsible for their significant other's medical debt after they pass away. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
State Senator Stephanie Pitcher tells me she believes it's fundamentally wrong to leave widows their spouse's medical debt after they die.
Medical debt ends up being the number one driver that can completely devastate a family financially.
She says she ran a bill just like this a few years ago. It got all the way to the Senate, but they ran out of time to get it to the governor before the end of that legislative session.
The bill is still awaiting its first committee hearing. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is reacting to an offer posed by El Salvador's president to house American deportees and even incarcerated American citizens in his country's prisons. Rubio, in a news conference in El Salvador, said the U.S. will think about it.
No one's ever made an offer like that. And to outsource at a fraction of the cost, at least some of the most dangerous and violent criminals that we have in the United States. But obviously the administration will have to make a decision.
While Rubio says it's a generous offer, there are obvious constitutional legalities involved. Your money at this moment: the Dow is up 127 points, S&P up 38, and the NASDAQ up 221 points. Coming up, record warmth today, but a cold front on the way. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time 103.
If you're trying to decide which gutter protection to put on your home, don't just ask how they'll handle leaves. Ask how they'll handle ice. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and that's right, ice. See, plenty of gutter guards are good at keeping out leaves, but most are made with flimsy materials that can bend, buckle, and break under the weight of too much ice. Kind of a big problem in an icy state like Utah, right? At RGS Exteriors, our exclusive gutter protection systems are built Utah tough. They're made with premium strength materials that hold up to 1,200 pounds of ice per square foot. Simply put, they're not going to budge. Our gutter guards are also certified to handle hurricane-level winds and rain. Mother Nature can't damage them. Guaranteed. Utah Tough Products. That's the RGS way. For a free estimate, call 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's rgsexteriors.com or 801-280-3110.
Camping season is right around the corner, and Motorsportsland is throwing a huge RV party in the KZ RV Mega Tent. Come and check out hundreds of the newest RVs, RV accessories, and enjoy exciting activities including kids' movie nights, RV seminars, on-site radio events, yard games, live bands, food trucks, and did we mention over $30,000 in giveaways? Event sponsors include KZRV, Owned by Cummins, Suburban RV Appliances, Lion Energy, Lippert, Utah Big Game Outfitters, Equalizer, and many more. Free admission, free seminars, and free activities. No need to wait for a show. Buy your RV at Motorsportsland this week in confidence with our best price guarantee for 2 weeks after your purchase. Check out motorsportsland.com for event schedule and guarantee details. Adventure awaits at Motorsportsland's Mega Tent RV event.
Let Motorsportsland help you get away.
4001 South State.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Ricky Meese.
In Davis County, we do have traffic temporarily stopped northbound Legacy Parkway due to an injury accident at 1900 North in Centerville. Traffic is stopped just before all the emergency vehicles that have been to the right and blocking a right lane of traffic. This does involve a tractor trailer that went way off the road. You do have solid delays backing up for a little bit, not quite to about 4th North, but if you are trying to get through Centerville on Legacy, you're going to run into a dead delay. You want to consider an alternate route. Looking for the perfect suit for that special occasion? Mr. Mac has the best suit selection for any occasion. and get winter clearance pricing today. Visit their 9 convenient locations or MrMac.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A record high of 66 degrees today, but temperatures are headed down from there. A high of 57 tomorrow and 50 on Friday. The chances of showers over the next couple days as well. Right now it's partly cloudy and 66 degrees. I'm Heather Peterson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
The White House is preparing an executive order right now at this very hour that would abolish the United States Department of Education. It's a campaign promise that now President Trump is following through on with additional support from the Department of Government Efficiency leader Elon Musk. Welcome to Inside Sources. I'm your host, Erin Ryder. I am an attorney here in town, a former Republican nominee for Salt Lake County Mayor, and I'm here with Leah Murray, professor of political science at Weber State University. Hi, Leah.
Hello. Always a pleasure, Erin.
It's fun to be with you today. So we are going to talk more about Elon Musk's role in the federal government in our second hour. But right now, let's start with this news about the Department of Education. Now, Leah, you are a professor at
I am an educator
at a higher education institute. What do you think about this?
Well, first of all, let me put on my political science professor hat and say I do not think that the White House can abolish the Department of Education with an executive order alone. So these are cabinet level positions. This is not, how do I say, like the president gets to reorganize the White House and the executive office of the presidency every 4 years. They get to put their stamp on, what they care about, what are the kind of advisors that they want, what do they want that to look like. But when we are talking about the cabinet level departments, that is the president nominates, the Senate confirms by statutory authority that agency exists, that cabinet level agency exists. So I don't think he can just use an executive order to abolish it.
So what does that mean then? I mean, what is the path here? Because this is something, I mentioned I am a Republican, and this is something that's been talked about in Republican circles for a long time, that it is time to get rid of the Department of Education. So what is the path forward here if Trump is trying to use, we've got the Department of Government Efficiency with Elon Musk involved in this. We've got Trump involved in this with executive orders, but Congress has to play a role. How do you actually go about this?
Right. I think the first thing is to get Congress to pass a law that gets rid of it, right? So in the same way, although, it's really funny. And I'm going to just tell you what, government doesn't usually roll things back, right, Erin?
Yeah.
So usually what we do in government is create some kind of agency to solve some kind of policy. I have a lot of respect, some kind of problem. I have a lot of respect for President Trump's efforts in this regard, right? If you are going to try to make the government be more efficient, I guess having someone like Elon Musk just coming in, like running around and causing chaos is a good way to get everyone to look at themselves a little more carefully. But the thing about the Department of Education is, like you said, probably since before you were born, Republicans have been running to get rid of the Department of Education, and it has never worked. In the last Trump administration, he tried to merge the education and labor departments, which is different from where it used to be. Education used to live in Health and Human Services, right? Or Health, Education, and Welfare, maybe was the name of that agency. So he was going to merge it with the Labor Department. At that time, Republicans had a trifecta like they do now, and that proposal also went nowhere. So I don't know if you add Musk to this, you get more drama, and as a result, you get more Republicans in Congress willing to do the work, but it's going to require law and everything we talk about with Republicans. So their number one agenda is getting rid of the Department of Ed, or is it, passing a reconciliation because the government's going to shut down in about 39 days. That, right? So Erin, like Mike Johnson, and Thune are thinking about other issues on their legislative plate, right? I think
Well, maybe that's why we're seeing Trump trying to do this through executive orders and through pressure from Elon Musk, because you're right. Mike Johnson, there are lots of games being played right now with just the budget from the congressional side and what happens if they can't get it together, what happens if the House comes up with something that the Senate's never going to take up, and what happens if the Senate comes up with their version first. I mean, there are all sorts of things going on that reconciliation page. But just to push back on this a little bit, I mean, the Department of Education has actually undergone quite a few changes in history. I didn't realize this until today, but it goes back all the way to 1867 when President Andrew Johnson initially signed legislation to create the Department of Education. But people were concerned that the department would have too much control over local schools, so they pulled back. They demoted it to an Office of Education. And then it sort of changed since then, and we've seen it where it is today from relatively recent terms, but it hasn't always been there. So because of that, I mean, don't you think that lends at least a little bit more flexibility to maybe this isn't something that Trump gets done tomorrow or before the bill has to be passed, but if there's enough pressure, if there's enough movement, and he can get these leaders to come around to it before too long. I mean, I don't know, right?
Yeah, I think it's the lowest hanging fruit. So let's be clear.
Okay.
I think if you were trying to dismantle a department at the federal level, the education one's the most obvious choice. One,
yeah, that's
okay,
true.
like federalism clearly dictates that the power of education's in the states. It probably was an abuse of federal power back when it was created in 1866 or
and that's the
67.
argument today, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, all of that is still true. However, I ask you, think of any of these departments that we have created over the last 240 years and name one that has been shuttered. So you are asking, right, to go very against the grain of history to make this change. And I would also argue you could compare it to 1867, but like the, how do you say, institutional thickness, if you will,
Sure.
right, of government in the 19th century, not the same as today. There are 100,000 public schools, 34,000 private schools that get something from the Department of Education. There are students in this country who get student loans from the Department of Education. I just filled out FAFSA because my daughter's going to college next year. All of that through the Department of Education. So as you disrupt this, right, it looks different from 1867 a little bit, Aaron. All of that energy has to go somewhere. And I don't know that government does really well shutting things down.
Well, and the funding piece is the thing that's especially interesting to me because so many states rely on federal money to support their education. And even here in Utah, I think we were looking at what is like 10% of Utah's education budget comes from the federal government. If you shut this whole thing down, what happens to that funding? How does that influence funding, particularly when you have the state that is making changes to the way that education is funded here in Utah? And we're seeing bills go through the legislative session and that have gone through the legislation or the legislative session, even all of the amendment stuff in the fall all of this is kind of wrapped up into one. I see an easier path forward maybe if Trump tries to shift things, maybe shift pieces of it into other departments and then get rid of what's left. Do you think that's an easier path?
Yeah, so maybe the first step is an executive order that moves some of this around, right? And I think what I'm reading in the language we're going to see out of this order is we will drain the government education swamp and stop the abuse of your taxpayer dollars to indoctrinate America's youth with all sorts of things that you don't want to have our youth hearing. So that sounds obvious, right? We're getting rid of all of the DEI stuff that we don't like for the Trump administration. But again, right, I'm going to ask a Congress that's not super functional to do something it's never done and dismantle a department seems like a hard, heavy lift.
Yeah, that's true. Although if Trump is going to do it, it has to be now because you start getting into midterm territory, you're never going to touch this. It's going to be too volatile for those who are running for re-election. And then if he doesn't retain kind of this red wave and one of these chambers flips, it's over.
That's the ball game. That's right.
That's the whole ball game, right? All right. Well, we're going to see how this goes. So stay tuned. There's obviously going to be a lot more on this as we talk and more coming up. Okay, next on Inside Sources, we are back to nominations. This has been something we've talked about a lot. We're not done with the nomination process, but we're getting close. We're going to talk about confirmation hearings and votes for some of the key cabinet nominees, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, etc. Stay tuned.
The newest part of your morning and still so familiar.
When you wake up and listen to a radio show, it's like you're a part of a family. You're listening in on people you know, and it's magnificent that Andy Farnsworth is sitting in the chair because he's someone we know.
Utah's Morning News. Andy Farnsworth joins Amanda Dixon to bring you important news in the car. 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Washington County Legacy Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Washington County Legacy Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain America Expo Center, Washington County Legacy Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Emergency traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Well, in Davis County, traffic at a standstill. We've had a medical chopper on the ground at this crash northbound Legacy Parkway, 1900 North in Centerville. They have not let traffic start to move again, even though the chopper has lifted away. From what I can see with the limited camera view, they should start to let traffic go again any moment now. But when they do, it is only going to be a left lane that is open. And right now, we have solid delays through Centerville past Parish Lane. You may want to consider avoiding Legacy and using northbound I-15. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Hi, I'm Miley O'Keefe. In competitive gymnastics, flexibility and precision are crucial, and Les Olson IT knows how important flexibility and precision are to your business. It's why they deliver the very best IT security, office equipment, collaborative technology, and so much more. Let Les Olson IT's Perfect 10 service empower your business at lesolsonit.com.
Les Olson IT.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Jazz games are better together. Host an unforgettable night at Delta Center with colleagues, friends, families, whoever. Group tickets are the best way to get everyone together to cheer on the Jazz. Pick from a variety of options for seating, dining, and game day experiences. Start planning your big night at the game by calling 801-355-DUNK, emailing group sales at utahjazz.com, or simply visiting utahjazz.com.
Febreze. It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la. Febreze.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then You spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now, all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
There was movement today for two of President Trump's more controversial cabinet nominees. RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., cleared committee today on a party line vote of 14-13, headed to the full Senate for confirmation to be the head of Health and Human Services, and the Senate Intelligence Committee narrowly approved Tulsi Gabbard to be President Trump's Director of National Intelligence, also voting along party lines 9-8. So you're with me, Leah Murray, alongside Aaron Ryder, my good friend, and we have such a good time talking about politics. Let me ask you a question about this, because I know that you, like me, listen to some of the, the information that comes out of Washington, D.C., because we're both so interested in that. And usually,
we're both nerds.
We
Leah.
are very, yes,
Okay.
absolutely nerds. Usually when it takes this long, it's kind of like the nomination dies on the vine, right, Aaron? Like usually when it takes this long, right, we were worried about RFK Jr. and about Tulsi Gabbard's chances because we thought this has been taking a minute, feels like it's not going to happen, but they have both cleared their committees. What do you think? Like, what do you think has been happening behind the scenes? So you worked in D.C. I never have, just an observer.
Yeah.
What would it have taken for President Trump to get Republicans to get on board with these two previous Democrats who have very controversial feelings in public statements? And God bless her, Tulsi Gabbard did not step down. She refused to call Snowden a traitor, even though, man, they were trying to get her to just say anything that made it easy.
Were.
Talk to me. How does Trump overcome right with these two?
Yeah, it's been really interesting to watch this process because initially my thought was, okay, they have to give Senate Republicans somebody, right? There has to be a sacrificial lamb, somebody that they can vote no to because there are enough controversial people in Trump's cabinet that he wanted that, giving Senate Republicans someone to say no to would just be a way to sort of make it all work. And once Pete Hegseth got through, my thought was, well, Tulsi Gabbard's going to be the sacrificial lamb. She's the one that's the most controversial. She doesn't seem to be the one that Trump is fighting for as hard as some of the others. I mean, there was a very concentrated effort to get Pete Hegseth through. Trump really wanted him there. And even with RFK Jr., I think there was a little bit of that too. However, I also think that some of the initial pushback has died over time. So instead of the nomination dying on the vine, I think the objections have died on the vine. And now, and if you really look back over the whole process, we were talking about this before the break, I think Matt Gaetz was the sacrificial lamb. And Matt Gaetz was the one where he would have been the most controversial pick for sure. And now that he's there was enough pressure and, okay, all right, fine, we're going to put him over here and he's not going to do this anymore. It's maybe that cleared the way and that gave Senate Republicans enough. And now enough time has passed. It's actually had the opposite effect where enough time has passed and, okay, here we are.
All right, so let's talk. To be clear, they are not the secretaries or RFK is not secretary yet.
Yeah.
Gabbard is not the director of national intelligence yet, right? Now they've got to go on to the Senate. Let's listen to Republican Senator Bill Cassidy and his thoughts about how his opinions about Kennedy have evolved.
Mr. Kennedy and the administration reached out seeking to reassure me regarding their commitment to protecting the public health benefit of vaccination. To this end, Mr. Kennedy and the administration committed that he and I would have an unprecedentedly close collaborative working relationship if he is confirmed.
I wonder what that looks like, right? So I promised, let's get married, and then nothing wrong will happen, right? And a little bit, I wonder if Senator Cassidy, might be disappointed that when RFK Jr., who has very strong opinions about vaccines, that he has been telling everybody, I don't know. Like when someone tells you what
Yeah.
they think, believe them.
Well, except that the problem with RFK in particular is that he's been all over the place on this, right? My kids have been vaccinated, but I don't believe in vaccines, but here we are. Like, he's just been very hard to nail down on this. And I think most recently, his standpoint has been certainly that he has been very opposed to vaccines. However, he also said in his hearing, look, I'm here to do what the president wants. And maybe the deal was struck that, all right, fine, we're not going to touch vaccines. We're just not going to touch it. We're going to go after food quality. We're going to go after some of these other things first and deal with that. And that's how you get someone like Senator Cassidy, who was a doctor before serving in Congress, to say, all right, fine, then I'll get behind your guy, right? I don't know.
Yeah. So Senator Tom Tillis, a Republican from North Carolina, saying it is time to put someone in there who's going to go wild, meaning he really hoped bringing in a disruptor like Kennedy to lead that Department of Health and Human Services would bring all these new ideas. But a little bit, he said, like the litmus test is vaccines. So just like Cassidy, Tillis is like, this is my favorite quote. The only way that Bobby Kennedy and I will get crosswise is if he does actually take a position against the safety of proven vaccines. So I hear you. Like maybe they're like, that's the deal. But again, I'm going to tell you what.
I know, once he's there.
What do you do? Once they're there, Congress doesn't ever fire anybody.
Yeah.
Right? So they can be all, we're mad at you for saying mean things about the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, but it's too late. And then we've got an MMR, outbreak or something, right? Like I wonder if they're going to be disappointed. Let's chat about Tulsi Gabbard, if that's okay. So she comes out of committee, getting Susan Collins, the Republican from Maine, Todd Young, the Republican from Indiana, announcing their support. What do you think? I mean, I guess I feel pretty clearly that I think Senator Lee is going to vote for all the nominees pretty tight, I think, with President Trump, and probably is going to deliver on his confirmations. I've been listing off Republican senators because I think Democrats are just going to say no, right? So I'm listing off Republican senators. For Tulsi Gabbard and Bobby Kennedy Jr., RFK Jr., they have got to, they can't lose. There's 3 Republican votes, right?
Yeah.
If 3 people decide, actually to believe your promises about vaccines, or I'm really not okay with how you feel about Snowden, who I think is a traitor. How do you feel about Senator Curtis? Do you think maybe he is someone we're not as sure about, or do you think he comes in saying yes to these nominees?
I mean, he has come through on the other nominees that have been up for votes prior to this, including Pete Hegseth. So, I think it's likely that he ends up voting in favor of these folks. However, he also, I know early on, had posted things that he was not sure about Tulsi Gabbard because she had not met with him. Her team had not reached out to his staff. So, I don't know if that has changed over time. I think, though, it's going to be interesting to see if any of these remaining confirmations need a J.D. Vance tiebreaker vote.
That's right, because if you lose 3 Republicans and you don't gain any Democrats, and I don't think Gabbard or Kennedy do.
Unlikely.
Right, then you've got J.D. Vance has to do that tie-breaking vote. I mean, I think it's interesting to me. What is and we don't have a ton of time left, Aaron, but what is kind of your general thinking? Do Republicans, are they kind of obliged to give their president, who's led them into a trifecta, whoever he wants in these offices?
I think there's certainly a lot of pressure on that regard, no question. And I think there have probably been discussions about primary challenges if they don't comply and, all sorts of things like that. I would not be surprised at any of it. That doesn't mean, there are folks who would still say no. And we saw that, again, with Pete Hegseth, right? We saw Republicans break rank and say, no, I'm not going to vote this way. But at this point, like I said, I think maybe Matt Gaetz was that sacrificial lamb, and that means the path is clear for the rest of them to get through.
All right. When Inside Sources returns, let's get back to Utah. Eye on the Hill 2025. We're going to discuss banning foreign funding in Utah's elections after the break.
Good afternoon. It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top local story this hour. A student from T.H. Bell Junior High has been taken to the hospital after he was stabbed in a fight. Weber County School District says a student has non-life-threatening injuries. The students that were involved have been detained, and law enforcement is investigating. The school was placed in a hold protocol, which had students and staff remain in place, but that has since been lifted. Thousands of customers woke up without power this morning after a Kearns Power substation was vandalized. A fence and equipment inside were damaged. Rocky Mountain Power spokesperson Dave Eskelson says they have a process for when things like this happen.
We try to make the outage as small as possible by isolating the damaged portion, switching to another substation, which is what we did in this case, and then we proceed with the repair in due course.
Rocky Mountain Power is working with police on the investigation and says that they are gathering evidence to identify the vandals. Our top national story from ABC News. A group of FBI agents are suing the Justice Department to prevent it from making lists of those who worked on the January 6th cases.
The class action lawsuit points to a form FBI agents were ordered to fill out seeking specific details of their work on January 6th cases. The expressed fear is the answers will be used to target agents for discipline and dismissals, adding that there's no other legitimate agency purpose for the information to be collected. The suit notes FBI agents are tasked by their leadership and, quote, not free to refuse assignments based on their political or personal preferences.
That is ABC's Stephen Portnoy reporting. And taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow is up by 106 points, about 0.25%, sitting at 44,524. S&P up by 37, and the NASDAQ gets up by 222 points. Coming up, more record-breaking temperatures. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 1:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Discover the thrill of winter adventure with Bear Lake Ski Shoring the Bear. Join us for an unforgettable experience on February 21st and 22nd. Whether you're a participant or a spectator, there's excitement for everyone. Spectators get in free, so bring your friends and family to cheer on the competitors. The action kicks off with the first round of races Friday, leading up to the exhilarating final round on Saturday. The top 10 competitors will return to battle it out for the ultimate glory. With no pre-registration needed, simply show up and sign a waiver to join the fun. Compete for a chance to win buckles, cash, and prizes in various divisions. Feel the rush, embrace the challenge, and be part of this unique winter spectacle. Don't miss out on this exciting event. Sign up for Ski Shoring and experience the thrill of racing through the snow. For more information, visit bearlake.org. See you at Ski Shoring the Bear.
Thursday at 10. Teachers and volunteers preparing for school in ways you never imagined.
Your job's to teach. I'm sorry it's evolved that you have to protect your area.
Yeah. That's the world we live in.
See how school districts across the state are responding to a new law aimed at protecting your children.
We want them to feel like they're equipped with the right tools.
KSL's Deanie Wimmer takes you inside Armed School Guardians, Plans to Protect, Thursday on KSL 5 News at 10.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. I think by now most of you have gotten used to our Management Minutes, but how about a Management Hour live? On February 13th, I'm launching my new book, Highly Reliable Teams When Failure is Not an Option. If you're interested in building better teams, please join us for an open house at the Utah State University Salt Lake campus in Taylorsville for a book signing and training for team leaders. We will learn the 9 critical qualities for highly reliable teams. This is a free training for new and seasoned team leaders. Again, February 13th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., food, giveaways, and lots of learning. Experience an MBA class firsthand for absolutely free. Go to UtahStateMBA.com for more information. That's UtahStateMBA.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you there.
Don't miss the Dave's Bernina Super Weekend Sale at their Provo and St. George locations. Save up to $2,500 on Bernina long arm machines. The B500 and 700 models start as low as $1,999.
Come see the Bernina 990, the most amazing revolutionary sewing machine in the world.
All machines are on sale. Below 2.9 interest for 60 months.
Amazing bargains on trade-ins, classroom, and demo machines. Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
We have emergency traffic coverage. It's brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Ricky Meese.
Maria, right now I'm watching a second medical chopper landing on Legacy Parkway, which is now closed in Davis County going northbound due to this bad accident at 1900 North in Centerville, with another medical chopper on the ground and all traffic stopped. The closure that remains in place is past this. All traffic will be detoured off northbound Legacy at about 900 West due to this accident. You need to consider avoiding this and get on northbound I-15 as your alternate. Common Spirit Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advanced health care in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And today is the warmest day of the week. We've already reached the high of 66 degrees. Things cooling off tomorrow with a 40% chance of showers. Tomorrow's high only 57 and down to 50 degrees on Thursday. Again, 66 degrees, mostly cloudy skies. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Eye on the Hill 2025. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
All right, well, just before the break, we told you that we were going to be talking to one of our state representatives around a bill regarding foreign funding. We're actually going to talk about that in the next segment. Instead, we're going to shift for a minute here and talk about a different bill aimed at higher education. Utah House Bill 265 aims to reinvest higher education dollars in programs producing the most results. It's getting national attention. Some people are saying it's the perfect model for other states to use when looking for ways to reinvest their higher education systems. But it's a new approach, right, Leah? It's a new way to do this.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting, I think the last segment we were talking about, what did Senator Tillis say about RFK, right? We need a disruptor.
Yeah.
We need someone to go in there and go wild. Because the thing is about bureaucracies, and this is just true because humans are human, is they are not super disruptive of themselves, right? So we are all probably have worked somewhere where you're like, everyone just does that way because it's always been doing that. Like, you're you ask why, and no one really knows why, right? Like those kind of, learned norms, rotes, behaviors, really hard to break up. You're like, it's bureaucracies. Humans have a hard time doing new things and a really hard time, I think, looking at themselves. When we think about higher education, if it is public education, so it's not BYU, right? It's not a private school who answers to someone else. It's publicly funded. They answer to the legislature. And the way that you disrupt public higher education is through the power of the purse, right? So the legislature basically says, this is what we're paying for. This is what we're not paying for.
Well, and let's talk about that real quick. So just very briefly, this bill seems a little bit complicated, but the idea here is that it's requiring the state's public universities, like you said, to create reinvestment plans that would reallocate some of their funding to strategic priorities.
Right. So think of it this way. The legislature gives money to higher education, except now they are going to take $60 million and park it somewhere, right? Yeah. Like, you don't even know where that goes, right? It's just like Gore's lockbox. So somewhere this money is just sitting there. For example, you all know that I'm a Weber State professor, right? So Weber State University has $6.6 million sitting somewhere. So we're not just getting...
Yeah, and it's money that they can't use.
Correct.
Right? It's money that's taken out of the allocated budget and put aside into this, what are they calling it? It's a strategic reinvestment line in the budget.
That's right. So what Weber State has to do is create a plan that says, here are areas that can be reduced. Here are areas that could be eliminated. Here are areas that we think actually they're huge waiting lists, right, for these classes. So clearly we need more faculty here. We're supposed to be looking at operational efficiencies. I'll tell you, the person who ran this bill is Representative Karen Peterson. She spoke with us earlier and gave an overview of the bill. I just want to listen to what she says it's doing.
This bill is the bill that talks about how we're going to do a strategic reinvestment in higher education. So it is not a cut, as you may have heard. Instead, it is a process by which our higher education institutions can think about how they can expand high impact and high demand programs for students and reallocate some of the resources that they have going other places that maybe are not quite as beneficial to students, to ensure that students really can come to our higher education institutions, get a degree that's meaningful, and have economic opportunities for themselves and their families.
Right. So she's asking universities to do that. The plan is that the Weber State, for example, would be looking at itself to see. And I kind of said to her, and you trust us, right? Like, how is it that you're going to believe we're going to be able to do this? This is what she said.
So part of the bill is that we want to create this program review to be regular and systemic, so that we're not doing this one-off exercise periodically and we have institutions building up programs that, maybe we don't need or that we do need or that duplicate other programs. And so we really want to think about our institutions as a system, and we want to think about what programs we're creating, and we want to do these reviews more regularly. So the bill will call for all programs to be reviewed every 5 years. Just so we can make sure we keep having these conversations about the changing economy, the changing student interest, and the changing demands of the workforce.
That's what I love about it, right? Okay. So right there, why I think it could be a model, which is where you started your question, right? For the way to do this across the country is this is not we are in a duel to the death here in 2025 and then we never talk about it again. What the legislature is saying is, no, this is an iterative process and every single program is going to have to justify itself all the time, right? And I think that's the cool innovation. Does that make sense?
And this is right in line with what the legislature has been talking about leading up to this legislative session anyway. They really want to see their higher education institutions here in the state of Utah doing more, doing better. I mean, insert whatever word you want there, right? But looking at how money is spent, the way that these programs operate, the priorities from these institutions, it's clearly something the legislature cares about. It's interesting. I mean, Utah is always on the front lines when it comes to finding new and innovative ways to do this, to do things. We've seen this with other bills in the past. We've talked about this before. This would not be the first time that Utah puts a bill out there that other states then pattern and follow. But, I'm not gonna put you on the spot and ask you about your feelings on this, Leah, but just practically, what does this look like for a higher institution? I mean, how do you go about implementing a bill like this?
Right. I mean, I love how you asked that question. And I just want to share, as someone who is a huge sports fan, I'm thinking today about the Super Bowl. Football is ending. And I know there are teams out there going, what players do we not need anymore? Right. And I don't mean to talk about sports because I know it's a politics show, but a little bit think of it that way. If you're a player for a team and someone's decided you're too old or your stats are not where you need it to be, that can be devastating, right? So when you ask me how I feel about it, right, if we were doing this review and they were like, nah, whatever Marie's doing, she's like, what we need is a quarterback and she's kind of a running back and we need different skills, that would be devastating, right? So I think implementing this has real human capital cost, Aaron, right? I think it's one thing to talk about it. And I agree that we should be shaping academic programs. We should be thinking about our curricula. We need to do major restructuring because I don't think we have adapted well to the new markets, right? I just don't think we do it well. But your question about how I feel about it is it's going to hurt, right? And there are people who I work with, and maybe me, right, who are not going to have a job on the other side of one of these reviews, and that's going to be hard to navigate.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be... I'm so curious about this whole process because the idea of reallocating and, so personal story, when I was going to Georgetown for law school, I was there during the 2016 election. And coming out of that election, most of my classmates, most of my professors could not understand how Trump had won. And we talked about it a lot. And Georgetown's a fairly liberal place. And I had this moment sitting in one of my classes where I thought, you are in law school. Your job is to understand multiple sides of an issue. If you're telling me that you can't understand why someone in 2016 would have voted for Donald Trump instead of Hillary Clinton, even if you don't agree with that choice, if you can't understand it, then you have failed law school. And that was a real interesting moment for me to walk away from that and say, maybe we do need to do a better job in our higher education. And that's exactly what Karen Peterson said. You know, she asked this question when she presented the bill. She said, how do we make a good system better? I think that's really interesting. Anyway, all right. Well, after the break, we're going to be going back to our bill on foreign funding. So stay with us for more.
It's the Advanced Window Products President's Day sale. If the cold is seeping in through your old windows, Advanced Window Products will install state-of-the-art double-pane windows with insulated frames. Your home will take on an exciting new look, and you're going to save on your heating bill. And not for nothing, your air conditioning in summer. And right now, with the President's Day sale, you save $2,500 off 10 windows or more. For 38 years, Advanced Windows has been building beautiful custom windows and frames right here in Utah. There's no middleman, so you save. So keep out the cold, cut down your energy bills, and save $2,500 with one call to Advanced Window Products. 801-850-9100. An expert comes out for a no-pressure consultation. They'll tell you about the payment plans, including no payments for 24 months. The Advanced Window Products President's Day sale. Get $2,500 off. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or just go to advancedwindows.com.
Emergency traffic continues on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. We have a closure in place in Davis County northbound Legacy Parkway. It's closed at 9th West due to a serious accident at about 1900 North. So after Parish Lane, you'll see that the delays clear out, and the delays going northbound prior to the detour, with all traffic being forced off at 9th West, starts after Pages Lane. If you are still sitting in these backups, you want to consider, once you get off at 9th West, making your way over to northbound I-15 and staying on northbound I-15 the rest of the way and using it as an alternate ahead of time. We have a second medical chopper that is still on the ground at this accident scene in Centerville on Legacy Parkway going northbound. And once they open traffic, which we do not have an estimated time for, we will let you know. But right now, you need to stay off Legacy Parkway going northbound through Centerville. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness, and Utah isn't immune.
With nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or some other form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe. KSL has teamed with 988 Utah, the free suicide and crisis lifeline, to bring you hope and help you thrive.
If you or a loved one is experiencing a mental health crisis, call or text 988.
Because a healthy mind matters.
Attention home buyers. Want to save hundreds on your mortgage payment or buy a bigger, nicer home? Visit SaveRight.com. This is Rod with the SaveRight team at Realty Path. SaveRight, our name says it all. SaveRight real estate clients often save $300 to $600 a month on their mortgage. Life of loan savings can be over $300,000. SaveRight clients qualify for and buy bigger, nicer homes. Interest rates are around 7%. SaveRight clients can get fixed rates in the 5s. Our affiliate lender makes it all possible. You can even start with a rate in the 2s. If you're buying or selling a home in Utah, save a ton of money. Hire the SaveRight team of realtors. Visit SaveRight.com for more information.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Is your mom or dad struggling to get in and out of their chair? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. We've seen it happen for years. As customers come into our store and they've had a recent fall, They're finally ready to ask for some help. Don't wait until you're injured. We have everything you need to avoid the fall before it happens. Now until the end of February, we're running a deal that we think you're going to love. When you purchase a lift chair, you can unlock 10% off your entire purchase. Get side tables, canes, shower chairs, walkers, and even ramps. We're open Monday through Friday. We've got stores from Idaho Falls to St. George and now in Tooele. Come into any one of our 11 locations and let us help you. Find us online at alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Jackson Hewitt makes taxes feel like a yacht rock song.
Breeze, give me my biggest tax refund, please. You, me, and a lifetime accuracy guarantee.
And now get $100 just to try Jackson Hewitt. Does your tax person do that?
Say goodbye to that no guarantee tax guy.
Ready to sail through tax season? Go to Jackson Hewitt and you'll be limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
Attention homeowners, it's Freeberary at Yes Air Conditioning, Heating, Plumbing, and Electric. Get a free furnace and smart thermostat with the purchase of select new cooling systems. That's right, purchase a new system from the pros at Yes and get a furnace and smart thermostat absolutely free. We offer expert technicians, flexible payment options, and our exceptional service guarantee, ensuring your peace of mind. Request your complimentary consultation from Yes today. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
My name is Dale Pazinski. I volunteer with United Way to help the homeless in my community learn computer skills and build a basic resume. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Eye on the Hill 2025. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
On the first day of the 2025 Legislative General Session, Aaron, Inside Sources spoke with State Representative Candace Perucci about a bill that she was working on, banning foreign funding in Utah's elections. The language for the bill was just released, so we wanted to bring the representative back to discuss the language and what's actually being proposed. Did it change since we talked to her a little while ago? State Representative Candace Perucci, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so the bill's language says it will prohibit the individual or entity from knowingly soliciting, accepting, or receiving a contribution from a foreign national. So a little bit, if I'm running for office, representative, can I just say, oh, I didn't know they were from Canada? I mean, like, how do you make sure that you, how am I asking? Like, how do you enforce that? Does that make sense? Is there a way that someone could claim? Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is House Bill 393, and it's banning foreign funding in ballot propositions and elections. And, that is legalese. When we're working with attorneys, they always insert language on knowingly because there's the off chance someone, could say, oh, I legitimately did not know. But I'll tell you, the way that we define this makes it pretty crystal clear. When you look at the definitions of what a foreign national means, so someone who is not a United States citizen, someone who has not become a naturalized citizen, it also includes entities. So if a foreign government owns more than 50% of that entity, then it is considered a foreign entity. We also, based on other bills that I've done in the past, now require individuals to register as foreign lobbyists if they represent entities that have over 50% foreign ownership. So it actually, based off of how the registration works with disclosures and lobbyists with the lieutenant governor, an individual who is representing an entity that is foreign would have to register as a foreign lobbyist, and it would say so on their badge. So, it is nuanced, but based on the definitions, it should be pretty crystal clear. And hopefully it's also forcing and encouraging elected officials and also individuals who are ramping up initiatives to double check where they're actually getting a contribution from. And so they do need to do their homework when they're taking money from an entity they're not familiar with.
You know, as the lawyer in the conversation, I actually can totally understand why the attorneys are saying knowingly versus unknowingly. So I'll just take one for the team on that one. Just putting that out there.
Thank you.
So I have a question, Representative Perucci. This doesn't just affect elections. It also affects ballot initiatives and propositions. Talk to us about the idea and the motivation behind that.
Thank you for the question. So just to be clear, it is illegal right now in our country for an elected official to take money from a foreign national or from a foreign government. However, we wanted to make sure that was crystal clear in this bill, and so we've incorporated that. There is a gap in code, though, as it relates to initiatives. And so you've seen in states across the country, this is becoming more of an issue. I know Ohio most recently had a problem with this, where they had individuals from other countries dumping money into initiatives. And so that's not appropriate. We want to make sure that it's U.S. citizens who are participating in our election systems, and that includes initiatives. And so that's why we've made sure to clarify and close that loophole in this bill.
Yeah, Representative Perucci, that just made me, I was thinking when you were defining it earlier, so it's citizens, meaning that if there are people living in the state of Utah who are here, even if they're illegal, with a visa, like they're here as a student, they really cannot donate money to any political action that's happening in the state?
So if you look at, and again, we can really get into the nuts and bolts of the bill, but you can see what a foreign national means, and it would be an individual who is not a U.S. citizen or a United States national under the Immigration Act. So yes, it would apply if you're not a citizen. And this is language that has been tried, not in our court circuit, but other court circuits that was upheld. And as I've said, Ohio and other states have let out on this as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. I'm wondering, I appreciate what you just said there, right? Like it's been upheld other places. I always appreciate when legislators, we know we're not going to be in court for ever on this one. Can you talk to us about that your bill says that the lieutenant governor can impose a civil penalty. Is that penalty against the foreign national making the contribution or the whoever's running the initiative or the person who's running for office, or is it both penalties? Like, how does that apply?
So obviously, this is going to be applying to the individual who violates the law. So again, if you're accepting that contribution, you will be in trouble. Our lieutenant governor does not have foreign jurisdiction over different countries, but certainly on initiatives that are run and candidates who run, they can go back and say, you violated this law. You're not allowed to take funding from foreign individuals or foreign countries, and therefore you are then going to be hit with this fine. So again, this really, from an enforcement perspective, we're being serious about this, and that candidates and initiatives should be very aware of where their money is coming from.
Along those lines, it was interesting to me to note that if an individual or receives a contribution from a foreign national, they need to, according to the text, notify the lieutenant governor and disperse the value of the contribution into the state's general fund. And that was interesting, as opposed to just reimbursing it to the person or the entity who made the contribution. You've got to actually give it to the state. Is that right? Am I reading that the right way?
That is correct.
Yeah, that's so interesting to me because as a candidate,
we're not going to be sending say China or Sweden their money back. You're going to get it right back into our general fund. Yes.
Representative Perucci, can you just tell me how much do you, anyway, I'm thinking, could you fund education with these civil penalties? And I'm teasing, obviously, but
I mean, I would hope not.
Right.
Because that would mean we have a rampant problem in our education budget. Is $8.3 billion. But I think the principle is, it's not just going to be a slap on your hand. And for the foreign entity, they're out that money. Because if it's just you get your money back, then they're going to take the risk of giving it. And so, no, we're serious about this. It also will hopefully call attention to the issue as it relates to initiatives and this gap that we have in code right now.
Yeah, no, Representative Perucci, thank you so much. Well, actually, let me ask you a last question. We've only got about half a minute left. Is it going to go? You think this is going to pass? What are the chances of your bill?
I am feeling very confident. I mean, if you followed Amendment D, this was one of the concepts that was included in that policy. And I actually had this bill file open prior to the Amendment D conversations, and it passed both bodies. So I found that this is a bipartisan issue. People understand the concerns with this. And also you've seen the State Department, the FBI, the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, all have highlighted issues with this. So, and we're mirroring federal code for half of it. So I don't anticipate this having any challenges.
All right. State Representative Kenneth Perucci, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me. We'll see ya.
I love that the penalty actually benefits, right? That's a beautiful civil penalty. I love it. Coming up in the second hour of Inside Sources, let's talk some international politics. Let's get into El Salvador taking America's, deportees. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shilaos. KSL's top story is breaking news at this hour. We are now learning that the final victim of the deadly D.C. plane crash has been recovered. Officials say crews are still trying to remove the debris from the Potomac River where the American Airlines passenger jet and military helicopter crashed last Wednesday. 67 people were killed in that crash. Utah lawmakers are looking at a bill that would make it so spouses are not responsible for their significant other's medical debt after they pass away. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
State Senator Stephanie Pitcher tells me she believes it's fundamentally wrong to leave widows their spouse's medical debt after they die.
Medical debt ends up being the number one driver that can completely devastate a family financially.
She says she ran a bill just like this a few years ago. It got all the way to the Senate, but they ran out of time to get it to the governor before the end of that legislative session.
The bill is still awaiting its first committee hearing. And taking a look at your money at this moment at the close, the Dow up 134 points, sitting at 44,556. S&P up by 43 points. The NASDAQ up by nearly 1.5%, up 262 points. We still have an emergency traffic situation. We'll get the very latest with Ricky Meese coming up next. KSL News Time 2:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Camping season is right around the corner, and Motorsportsland is throwing a huge RV party in the KZ RV Mega Tent. Come and check out hundreds of the newest RVs, RV accessories, and enjoy exciting activities including kids' movie nights, RV seminars, on-site radio events, yard games, live bands, food trucks, and did we mention over $30,000 in giveaways? Event sponsors include KZ RV, Onan by Cummins, Suburban RV Appliances, Lion Energy, Lippert, Utah Big Game Outfitters, Equalizer, and many more. Free admission, free seminars, and free activities. No need to wait for a show. Buy your RV at Motorsportsland this week in confidence with our best price guarantee for 2 weeks after your purchase. Check out motorsportsland.com for event schedule and guarantee details. Adventure awaits at Motorsportsland's Mega Tent RV event.
Let Motorsportsland help you get away.
4001 South State.
Les Olson IT is now a Ricoh Graphic Arts and Production Systems dealer. Ricoh chose Les Olson because of our reputation for superior service and national recognition. Les Olson IT chose Ricoh Graphics because they're the best value compared to other commercial-grade printers. Ricoh excels in high volume, high speed, high resolution, and offers an exciting fifth color. Learn more at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
Emergency traffic coverage is sponsored by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Ricky, what's going on?
Northbound Legacy Parkway remains closed in Centerville due to a very serious accident about 1900 North. And if you are traveling northbound on Legacy right now, all traffic is being pushed off the freeway and detoured at 9th West due to this accident. Right now, you need to consider avoiding northbound Legacy, even if you're planning for your drive home this afternoon, until crews will be able to open it up. Right now, a medical chopper still sitting on the ground. No idea when this is going to open up, but northbound Legacy still seeing some delays approaching Parish Lane. Lagoon is hiring full-time, year-round ride maintenance technicians and electricians with journeyman or apprentice-level experience. Apply online at lagoonpark.com/jobs. Must be 18 years of age or older to apply. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Enjoy these nice warm temperatures. They're not going to last. Tomorrow's high 10 degrees cooler, 40% chance of showers on Thursday, a 30% chance of showers, and the high down to 50 degrees. Right now, 66 degrees. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
A rather unique and extraordinary offer has come from the president of El Salvador. He is offering to take in people here in the U.S. illegally, as well as violent American criminals, including U.S. citizens who are currently in jail here. Both groups of people would be imprisoned in El Salvador for a fee. It comes following Secretary of State Marco Rubio's visit to El Salvador. Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm Erin Ryder here with Leah Murray, and we are going to talk about this. Leah, what do you think about this? I'm so interested. Actually, before we get into that, I just want to hear a few sound clips from Secretary of State Rubio talking about what this is going to do. Let's hear the first where he talks about this offer.
He has agreed to accept for deportation any illegal alien in the United States who is a criminal from any nationality, be they MS-13 or Tren de Aragua, and house them in his jails.
Okay, so first of all, we've got El Salvador saying we're happy to take any deportees from any nationality and house them in our jails. The second part of this, let's hear more.
He has offered to house in his jails dangerous American criminals in custody in our country, including those of U.S. citizenship and legal residence.
Okay, and then just a little bit more on what that exactly means.
No one's ever made an offer like that. And to outsource at a fraction of the cost, at least some of the most dangerous and violent criminals that we have in the United States. But obviously the administration will have to make a decision.
This is fascinating to me. I mean, El Salvador has spent a lot of time over the last little while really trying to deal with their gang problems, trying to deal with a lot of the violence in their own country. They've built up these prisons. I mean, these are state-of-the-art, like very kind of intense, legit prisons, for lack of a better way to describe this. And now we have the president of El Salvador telling the Secretary of State, hey, you guys want to pay us? You've got a housing issue. You've got a space issue in your prisons in the United States. Let us do it. Pay us a small fee, and we'll house not only people who are deported from any nationality, but also U.S. citizens who you don't have room to house. I don't know. That's fascinating.
I love that you're fascinated by that, Erin. I'm a little horrified. So let me just kind of change that. When I look at the pictures of these prisons, they look like, a Batman movie. Just right, like it's these kind of dystopian views of prison guards and the terrorism confinement center. And I guess my question is, you're a lawyer. I am not. You said earlier in the show you went to Georgetown Law, so I'll just, bow to your expertise. But you tell me, is this in any way a correct application of the 4th through 8th Amendments, and a little bit taking someone out of the United States who is a United States citizen and putting them in a detention center that has terrorists and like the most intense criminals in El Salvador, doesn't that seem like a violation of the Eighth Amendment's cruel and, I don't know, unusual punishment?
Well, I guess it depends on what terms they come to and how these prisons are run. Because my pushback to that would be, how is that any different than putting someone in prison here in the United States where they are next door or on the same cell block as terrorists or other, violent criminals in the United States? I mean, as long as the legal process has not been disrupted in any way, this isn't Guantanamo Bay. We're not sending people there and detaining them for years and years and forgetting about them. They've still gone through the legal process. They've been convicted. They've been sentenced. And instead of going to prison at Sing Sing, they're just going to go to prison in El Salvador. I don't know. As long as they're not getting waterboarded or tortured or so, if it's
how would you? So,
but the enforcement piece is I think where
that's
that
the
gets
rub,
tricky.
and I guess I don't buy that El Salvador is going to in any way abide by rules that we might have. So if we have said we will pay you to take these prisoners, so now El Salvador is making money off of them, it is in their interest to make it look like everything is fine. And then how do those prisoners have a conversation from El Salvador with any legal counsel? When we look at, I'm just looking at AP News article, at least 261 people have died in those prisons. There are cases of abuse, there's cases of torture, there's lack of medical attention. And again, the Eighth Amendment doesn't say, once you had all that due process, right, we are going to do a punishment that's cheap. It's going to be a punishment that is proportional to the crime. My major concern is, how does the United States legal community keep a tab on what's happening in El Salvador when our citizens are there?
Well, you would absolutely have to have some sort of oversight, accessibility feature with this, right? And I also don't think we're talking about people who are going to be in jail for like a month on a misdemeanor crime, right? We're talking about violent criminals, violent people who have been convicted and sentenced for violent crimes, who are probably going to be in jail for a long time. I mean, American prisons are also not exempt from having their own issues. We know that. So to me, it's more about if you can preserve the channels of communication, as long as U.S. citizens have access to legal counsel, as long as they can file an appeal or file a complaint, and you have some sort of process whereby you can really look into that and oversee that, then I don't know, honestly, if it is that different than being in a prison here in the United States. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I clearly think you're wrong. So I will just say that, because you're not in the United States. I mean, I feel like an American citizen should serve his or her time in America if they have been convicted of a crime.
Why?
Because, I don't know, let's think about England taking people and sending them to Australia. Like a little bit, we've seen that film before, Erin, and I don't think it's
but that was
humane.
different, right? That was, you're sending people to Australia and you're just sending them out there to live forever. This is a prison sentence where you are confined in a prison. That's not
El Salvador.
Look, let me be clear. This rests on a very big if, a very, very, very big if.
Trusting.
If they have the processes to do this and to do it correctly, then I think it could be an interesting solution to the problem that we have. I mean, this is, we've talked on the show before about Trump wanting to use Guantanamo Bay as a place to hold deportees before they're gone. The issue is space. And, even with our little corner here, when I was running for Salt Lake County, there were lots of conversations about space. The entire public safety bond that failed on the ballot last year was centered on the idea of there's not enough room to house the people who have been sentenced and convicted of a crime. And if we can't put them in prison, if we don't have that to use, then you get a rotating door and it causes additional problems.
Right. So we should send them to El Salvador, Erin. You can't possibly think that that's, how do I say, there's got to be room in the United States. I've driven across the country.
Well, you have to build more jails.
Correct. There's clearly space here, right? I mean,
well, yeah, if you want to build them. And look, that's certainly an option. I am not saying there are not problems with this, and I'm not saying this is a perfect solution. I just think it's interesting. And I think it's interesting that the president of El Salvador said, hey, look, we'll do this for you. And, give us a small fee. It might save you some money from having to build all these new jails. And so, again, it turns on a very large if. But I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Leah and I very clearly disagree on this. So, listeners, we would love to know what you think. Text us at 57500. We'd love to know, do you think I'm crazy, as Leah apparently thinks I'm crazy? Or do you, like me, think that there's some interesting angles to this? In the meantime, next up, we're going to talk about Elon Musk. We previewed this earlier in the show. Let's get into what is his actual role in the Trump administration? What kind of ability and accountability does he have? Stay with us.
Join the smartest conversation in Utah, the team of analysts and political advisors that make up Inside Sources. Get unfiltered analysis of the new administration, the president's cabinet, and Utah's upcoming legislative session. Inside Sources, weekdays from 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Emergency traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Emergency crews remain on the scene of this injury accident, northbound Legacy Parkway at about 1900 North in Centerville. As a result, northbound Legacy is closed by Parish Lane. All traffic is being forced off the roadway at about 9th West in Centerville. And right now we have stop-and-go delays back to Parish Lane. You need to plan ahead. Just avoid northbound Legacy and use northbound I-15 instead. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Discover the thrill of winter adventure with Bear Lake Ski Shoring the Bear. Join us for an unforgettable experience on February 21st and 22nd. Whether you're a participant or a spectator, there's excitement for everyone. Spectators get in free, so bring your friends and family to cheer on the competitors. The action kicks off with the first round of races Friday, leading up to the exhilarating final round on Saturday. The top 10 competitors will return to battle it out for the ultimate glory. With no pre-registration needed, simply show up and sign a waiver to join the fun. Compete for a chance to win buckles, cash, and prizes in various divisions. Feel the rush, embrace the challenge, and be part of this unique winter spectacle. Don't miss out on this exciting event. Sign up for Ski Shoring and experience the thrill of racing through the snow. For more information, visit bearlake.org. See you at Ski Shoring the Bear.
Jackson Hewitt makes taxes feel like a yacht rock song.
Breeze, give me my biggest tax refund, please. Guarantee.
And now get $100 just to try Jackson Hewitt. Does your tax person do that?
Say goodbye to that no guarantee tax guy.
Ready to sail through tax season? Go to Jackson Hewitt and you'll be limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away, so the One can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Head of the Department of Government Efficiency, also known as DOGE, Elon Musk is quickly cleaning house. He's been integral in pausing everything at USAID. Rusty Cannon and Taylor Morgan, and I think the entire world, talked about that yesterday, Aaron. Then earlier in this show, we talked a bit about Musk's role in potentially dumping the Department of Education. A little bit the fact that he was seen in the building made people talk, right? Like, what is going on with the Department of Ed? So let's have a conversation on Elon Musk, what he's doing, what is the oversight. I'm Leah Murray alongside Aaron Ryder. Aaron, given our last segment, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to find out right here that you are a huge fan of Elon Musk, and my face will have all of the feelings. Let's listen to Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal about how Democrats are feeling about Elon Musk.
The kind of betrayal of trust that we're seeing in putting the world's richest man in charge of our country, giving him the power to enrich himself and his fellow billionaires or ultra-wealthy in government. The American people won't stand for it, and we ought to show that we won't stand for it.
So what do you think about that? This is the world's richest man being put in charge of our country. Do you think he's in charge?
Oh, gosh.
I feel like that was yes. That sounded like a yes.
Yeah. Well, okay, here's where I fall on this. I don't have any problem with having even an outside person looking at Congress, because we all know that Congress and Washington and executive bureaucracy, it's really difficult to see your own inefficiencies a lot of times, right? So I don't have a problem with an outside person coming in and looking at that. Even some of the folks that they've got in DOGE who are very intelligent, I don't have a problem with that. Where I get concerned are some of these issues around the access to the data that they have, access to American citizen data, and what happens if that data gets out of control. Like, that to me gets really, really iffy. I would prefer to see, we've got Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina talking about how they could reel Musk's actions in if they need to. Let's listen to that real quick.
We've got oversight. If it goes too far, I'll be the first person to step up. He went too far. Elon Musk is trying to look at waste in government that continues to grow and grow and grow.
Okay, I don't think they have oversight.
Yeah, right there, Aaron,
Yeah.
right? Like, so.
No way.
There's no way. He wasn't confirmed. He was never nominated. I can't quite figure out even what his department is. So you've got DOGE, but I'm unclear. You said there's smart people in it. I'm like, where does it live? Is it in the executive office of the presidency?
Right.
Is it in the West Wing? I'm not
And
sure
these
what
folks
the org
haven't really
chart.
been vetted.
Correct.
There's no security clearance.
That is
issue,
right. And
nothing.
right.
Even Trump himself has made statements about, look, if all he can do is fire people. If we don't like what he's doing, then we're going to pull back on him. I don't even know if that, in theory, that's true. But once they have access to data, once they have access to all of these systems, and that cat's out of the bag, that Pandora's box is open, to mix metaphors there. It doesn't matter if you pull him back at that point. And I don't know that I trust Elon Musk enough to be like, sure, here, have access to the entire federal government.
That's right. So Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent privately reassured Republican House members on the House Financial Services Committee yesterday. So basically he said Treasury has control of Treasury, and that makes sense to me, right? Bessent is actually the secretary. Been nominated, confirmed, vetted, as you said. Musk does not have access to that data. Treasury has control of the Treasury payment system. But, a little bit I just want to say, we had all of this conversation over the last year, 2 years, about adorable little TikTok and how we couldn't use TikTok because somebody having access to our data, some foreign country having access to the data. That was a national security crisis, epic, as such that we should infringe on the First Amendment. But it's totally fine for someone who wasn't elected, wasn't vetted, wasn't confirmed, didn't go through any of the processes, and I do not believe that Congress has any oversight over, to just have access to everything. I don't understand that disconnect. Aaron, help me explain it.
Well, I mean, really, this is how Trump operates, right? Like, he wants someone to come in and look at this. Elon Musk very clearly played a role in the presidential election and helping Donald Trump get elected. And so I'm not surprised by this. Trump is kind of a ready, fire, aim kind of guy. And so you have this department here. And again, the theory of the department, I don't have a problem with. What I'm concerned about is the influence and the impact of the department when there's been no discussion on how the department needs to operate and what sort of boundaries need to exist within the department. That's where I get nervous about this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in our last segment, we were talking about El Salvador, right? And I was horrified that you thought it was a good idea to send people there.
I did not say it was a good idea. All I said was that it was fascinating. Let me correct the record on that.
So we'll make it fascinating. I was horrified. You were fascinated. And one of the things we talked about off the air and between the break is that Musk basically said on X, great idea. A little bit I'm concerned.
Yeah, but I don't
tell me why.
I don't take anything from... look, Musk is the most prolific poster on X by far. Like, he dominates X, right? You open up your X feed and it's just Elon Musk and Donald Trump and just over and over and over again. And so Elon Musk is going to say a whole bunch of things to promote the Trump administration where he feels like it, because that's what he does and that's what he's doing right now. That's, it helps his own cause to do that. But I don't look at that post and think, oh, well, then that means that clearly we're sending all of our criminals to El Salvador. That's not what that means. It just means he's posting about things that are in his head again, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah, I love that. Where is the line, though, Aaron? I mean, I think the point of this segment is...
But Elon Musk doesn't have... This is not like El Salvador is a Secretary of State... It's a State Department, White House
Actually, we don't know, right, Aaron? We have no idea what the org chart is. We have no idea how Elon Musk speaks to the other departments. We know that the Treasury Secretary had to tell Republicans, no, wait a minute, it's me. A little bit, that makes me think even Republicans in Washington don't know. And when Tom Tillis is like, oh, I'll just pull him back, when it's like, but dude, once he ran past the line, then it maybe is way too late. And if you ran past the line with my Social Security number, I might have serious issues. Where's the accountability? I'm very concerned about this.
Yeah, no, and that's where my concern lies too, right? It's the access that the Department of Government Efficiency has to American citizen data. I don't know that I necessarily see that looking, you're just trying to punish me for the last segment here, Leah. You're really trying to punish me hard.
I'm not trying to punish you.
We're taking a little bit of a contrarian
I am clearly having a conversation with you about I've got some concerns. So the fact that
and
someone,
I've got similar concerns,
so if El Salvador can go, this would be a great idea to take all of our citizens and put it in this Batman-esque kind of prison. I have concerns about Elon Musk being someone who I can't identify. How much is he being paid? When I took like at a house budget, am I going to see what line he's in? How much staff does he have? All of that seems super not transparent from an administration and quite frankly from a party that cares a lot about the executive branch being more transparent. All of it gives me pause.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you on that.
That's not the argument I was looking for, Aaron, but I love it. Yeah, so, I mean, I think for me, your point is maybe well taken. Musk is just, what do you call it now? Xing things, tweeting things,
Musk
whatever.
is going to pontificate about a whole bunch of things that it's going to have
except
no
now,
influence.
Maybe, except now he's actually in government.
Yes,
so when
but
Donald
I think
Trump,
there are still limits on that. He's going to pontificate about everything and anything. But that doesn't necessarily mean, I mean, Doge is going to go after the penny, right? We've talked about that on the show. They're going to do things like that. They're looking at USAID. That's a big deal, certainly. But just because he posts something does not necessarily mean, right? And we even saw this with the budget resolution process at the end of the year. Yeah, it created a stir and people were like, we don't know what to do. But I feel like since then, just because he posts something, it has not had the same effect.
All right, next up on Inside Sources, let's go back to the state legislature, take another look at some bills that could affect Utah's elections. Maybe Elon Musk should actually run for office so he could have some accountability. Stay with us.
Good afternoon, 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. KSL's top local story this hour. A student was stabbed at a Weber County Junior High School today. This happened during a fight between a couple of students at T.H. Bell Junior High. The student was stabbed in the stomach and is now in the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. 4 male suspects have been detained. School went into a shelter-in-place protocol, which was quickly lifted after the incident. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, Luka Doncic has arrived in L.A. after the jaw-dropping trade from the Dallas Mavericks.
It's a trade that has shocked the NBA, one that doesn't totally make sense for the Mavericks to give up their superstar player. Luka Doncic, now an L.A. Laker, says he's excited to be teaming up with LeBron James.
It's just like a dream come true, you know. I always look up to him. There's so many things I can learn from him.
He says the last couple of days have been a blur, and it felt like a few months after the surprise trade happened and he made the abrupt move to L.A. to join the Lakers. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
On Wall Street at this hour, the markets closed. The Dow was up 134 points today. Coming up, the record warmth comes to an end. Enjoy it while it's there. KSL weather is coming up next. KSL News Time, 2:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Are you in search of a fulfilling career where you can work on a team that provides you room to grow, learn, and thrive every day? Focus Engineering and Surveying is looking for individuals to join their team who take pride in the customer service they provide and have a passion for their clients to be successful. No experience in engineering, CAD design, or surveying? No problem. Focus will train those who fit their team culture for rewarding careers in surveying and CAD design. If you can align with the core ideology and the Focus team culture, if you're internally driven, team-oriented, client-focused, and love personal development and growth, Focus Engineering and Surveying is the place for you. Enjoy a positive work environment and paid internship opportunities, plus fantastic benefits like great health care with 80% employer-paid premium and HSA matched up to $200 per month, 401k, vacation, even annual performance bonuses. Start your journey towards your new and fulfilling career. Apply now at FocusUtah.com. That's FocusUtah.com.
Thursday at 10. Teachers and volunteers. Preparing for school in ways you never imagined.
Your job's to teach. I'm sorry it's evolved that you have to protect your area.
Yeah. That's the world we live in.
See how school districts across the state are responding to a new law aimed at protecting your children.
We want them to feel like they're equipped with the right tools.
KSL's Deanie Wimmer takes you inside. Armed School Guardians, Plans to Protect. Thursday on KSL 5 News at 10.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
So what if I need a new one? We have the right Duralast battery for you, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
And what about my old battery? We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
You know that feeling? The weather starts getting colder, so you go down to check out the furnace and you look around and think, what am I even looking at? Because you don't know how these things work with all the lights and wires and pipey things. And then you think, I bet those technicians at Whipple went to school for this. Shouldn't they be here looking at my furnace? Whipple that away. Knowing what to look for on your furnace tune-up is my job. Make your problem my problem. Whipple Service Champions.
Visit whipplethataway.com for our current special offers.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Ricky Meese.
And emergency traffic continues in Davis County, where we have a closure of northbound Legacy Parkway due to a really serious accident near 1900 North in Centerville. All traffic will be forced off the parkway at 9th West in Centerville, and we have solid delays back to Pages Lane. If Legacy is your normal route home, you want to consider an alternate, just stay on northbound I-15 to get through Centerville in Davis County. Advanced Window Products, factory direct affordable windows. Call today, they're on their way. Financing available. Save now, pay later. AdvancedWindows.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL forecast. Your overnight low tonight down to 51. For tomorrow, a high of 57 with rain expected. Right now, we're at a record-setting 66 degrees. I'm Jeff Kaplan from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Eye on the Hill 2025. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
Utah's United States Senator Mike Lee is chiming in on a bill running through the state legislature that would change the vote-by-mail process. We're talking about House Bill 300. We have talked about this before on the show, but we're back to it again. The basic text would require, in addition to other things, that ballots be mailed out to voters and returned to a drop box where their ID can be verified. Only pre-approved voters would be able to mail their ballots back without showing ID. What's interesting about this now is not necessarily the bill itself. We've been talking about the bill. What's interesting is that Senator Lee is backing the bill. And I think, again, this just kind of cuts to, we talked earlier about Senator Curtis and his role in the confirmation process, but we haven't really talked a lot about Senator Lee and sort of the role that he's taken. I mean, what do you think about this, Leah? Do you think that him chiming in, even with our discussion on Elon Musk, right? Do you think that Senator Lee chiming in on this is going to have an impact on whether or not this bill passes?
So I think that's an interesting question, Aaron. But I first want to push back and say, so he chimed in on X, right?
Right.
So Utah is one of the reddest states in the nation. We should be a leader in election security. I wholeheartedly support Utah House Speaker Schultz in his effort to ensure that every vote is valid and that our ballots are secure on X. Mm-hmm. So you just told me, and oh my gosh, I love talking with you, but you just told me that when Elon Musk is chiming in on X, on El Salvador or anything, he's just pontificating whatever's in his head. So what makes it different, right, for Mike Lee? So you
who
asked
says
me,
that Mike Lee isn't just pontificating?
No, I know. That's what I wanted
the
to
question,
ask you.
right?
Yeah. So you said, will it have an impact? And I guess my question is, or how do I say, my answer depends on, do we think he's just pontificating, or is he, because he's an elected official, using this public square to say something like it's a real statement. A little bit, I'm always unsure, right? How much these social media posts should play a role in governing over the last 8 years since they have been introduced as a way of doing governing, where big announcements are made on social media. So I think it gets attention, or it has an impact on what happens in the state legislature if A1, they think a federal senator is supposed to be telling them what to do. Because I'm going to tell you what, that's a total question about federalism, whether our leaders in the United States Senate should be telling our leaders in the Utah legislature what to do. I do have questions about that relationship. But then two, it's like, does he mean it? Is he actually paying attention? Does that make sense? Did someone in his staff just text this for him or tweet this for him? Excuse me. So when I'm answering your question a little bit, I want to know, like, to what extent do people think it's like Elon Musk just pontificating? And to what extent is Lee using this as his, if you will, platform?
Yeah, and we know that, Senator Lee has been pretty open in the past about how he feels about things like SB 54, the bill that allows signature gathering to get on the ballot. So I think that he is serious in what he says here. I think he actually means it. But I think there's a difference. Mike Lee to the Utah legislature is not what Elon Musk is to the United States Congress, right? Where DOJ, it's unclear what their role is, but they are looking at all of these different bureaucracies, et cetera. Although I would even question if DOJ can tell an elected body like Congress what to do, as opposed to a bureaucratic agency housed under the executive branch. That's, to me, is a little bit different. But Mike Lee is not sitting here saying, Speaker Schultz, you need to do X, Y, Z. What he's saying is, I support what the legislature is talking about, and I support what the legislature is doing. That's very different. Mike Lee certainly has a lot of sway, particularly within the Republican Party. A lot of people look to him as a leader in some of these areas. But
pause for just a second. I'm
Sure.
so sorry. But last year when he got involved kind of endorsing candidates in our...
Yeah, you're right, in the second congressional district.
There were some feelings about maybe he should not be doing that, right? And so my question is maybe more theoretical. Political capital is maybe not an infinite resource, right? So
definitely not.
Right. So Mike Lee spending this political capital cash in this way on this bill... I guess my answer to your question of how much impact it has depends on how annoyed people still are from the last time he spent some political capital on things. If if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. My overall take on this is that it's probably not going to have much of an impact, because the legislature does a pretty good job of saying, no, we're going to do what we want to do, and we're not going to be bullied by federal representatives, even within our own state. And I think that's a good thing in a lot of ways. They're looking out for the interests of Utahns, and they're not afraid to say no. I think that this more represents, Mike Lee's statement truly represents where many in the Republican Party are right now. Not all, and maybe not enough to even get this bill to pass, but there are many who feel like our mail-in voting system doesn't work. I particularly actually quite like it, and I think Utah has one of the most secure systems in the entire country. It doesn't mean there isn't room for improvement, but I do like it. And there are many who don't. And Mike Lee, I think, is more a reflection of that than an influence on it.
Yeah. Then I guess he has no impact, right? So if it's not about him influencing...
So maybe I'm answering my own question.
Right. He is just reflecting what people say. I know that you said at the top of this segment, we've already talked about this bill, right? So I appreciate we were going to be talking about Mike Lee. But a little bit, Aaron, you say many Republicans have issues with it, but north of 90% of Utahns like using vote by mail. Mm-hmm. This morning, one of my colleagues who is, I think, Republican, I'm not actually sure. I don't ask him what his party is, but he basically came through and said they want someone to stand at the ballot box 24 hours a day. Like, he was stunned by one of the things that HB 300 has in it. Like, how do I say? Feels like having these conversations around vote by mail is an inch thick, do you know what I mean? But not super broad. And a lot of people who won their elections through the process of vote by mail being angry about something that they successfully navigated, I don't understand fully what the anger is about it in the state of Utah.
It's security. It's about election security and election integrity. And, on the campaign trail, I heard it a lot. Lots of people, and, particularly through the convention process, a lot of delegates have a lot of concerns about this. Again, like I said, I think it's a good system. I think it's one of the most secure in the country. And this bill, I think, has a difficult path ahead of it. I don't know that the Senate passes this bill. I don't know that it comes out alive, but that doesn't mean that there aren't people who aren't trying to push for this.
Right. So is the answer that convention delegates are angry that there's other ways of voting? I mean, sometimes I have conversations with people very intensely, and I haven't run a campaign, so let's be clear, not anywhere near you, like actually canvassing and talking to all the humans, just kind of people that you run into when they find out you do political science and they want to tell you all their thoughts. And one of the things they talk about is the people who really mean it should be the people who make decisions, right? And it should be hard. Like there should be obstacles because we earned it. It's kind of the energy I was getting from some of the delegates I know who don't like SB 54. How much of it's election security, Aaron, and how much of it is,
with vote by mail, I think it is mostly election security because vote by mail and the convention process are two different things, right? The convention process is how you get on the ballot, and it's a process that's enshrined in our Constitution, and SB 54 allowing signatures came in and kind of ruined that. But neither of those really have any impact on vote by mail. Vote by mail impacts the primary votes. It impacts the general election votes. So the concerns to me are different, right? The concerns of the convention are money and you're taking influence away. You're subverting the representation by the people. Those are where the arguments go. With vote by mail, it's more, how do we know that this ballot that was sent in is sent in by someone who's actually supposed to be voting? So anyway, more on this to come. I'm sure we'll have more conversations on this because it's a big thing with the legislature right now. In our final segment on today's Inside Sources, former President Biden has signed with a talent agency. This is going to be fun. More on what he's doing and if this is normal. Next.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Washington County Legacy Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Washington County Legacy Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain America Expo Center, Washington County Legacy Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Emergency traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Northbound Legacy Parkway remains closed at this time near Parish Lane, Centerville, due to a very serious accident at about 1900 North. If you are normally traveling northbound Legacy for your Davis County drive home, you need to find an alternate route. Right now, delays are stacking up as you're approaching Pages Lane in Centerville, and all traffic forced off Legacy at 9th West. So consider I-15 as your drive home this afternoon. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Want to play a game with me and Dad?
Mommy's not feeling good.
You need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with DayQuil VapoCool. It's DayQuil plus a rush of Vicks vapors.
Whoa.
Come on, honey. Let's let Mommy rest.
You guys are amazing. And so is DayQuil VapoCool.
DayQuil VapoCool, the vaporizing daytime coughing, aching, fever, power through your day medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
If you're trying to decide which gutter protection to put on your home, don't just ask how they'll handle leaves. Ask how they'll handle ice. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and that's right, ice. See, plenty of gutter guards are good at keeping out leaves, but most are made with flimsy materials that can bend, buckle, and break under the weight of too much ice. Kind of a big problem in an icy state like Utah, right? At RGS Exteriors, our exclusive gutter protection systems are built Utah tough. They're made with premium strength materials that hold up to 1,200 pounds of ice per square foot. Simply put, they're not going to budge. Our gutter guards are also certified to handle hurricane-level winds and rain. Mother Nature can't damage them. Guaranteed. Utah Tough Products. That's the RGS way. For a free estimate, call 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's rgsexteriors.com or 801-280-3110.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Aaron, what does a president do when they leave office?
This is a great question. I know what the Obamas have done because I've seen them, and I've seen them with book deals. President Obama has his Spotify stuff and his podcast with Bruce Springsteen, right? Is he still doing that?
I love that. His Spotify stuff and his podcast with Bruce Springsteen.
This is clearly the stuff that I pay attention to.
So Barack Obama is now, would you call him an influencer? Like, what is the title for a former but now famous person?
He's more than an influencer, though, because it's not just.
Does that mean something specific?
I think of an influencer, and I think of someone on TikTok or Instagram who makes money off commissions. I don't know. That's what I think of as an influencer.
Okay, I was thinking like he does post like, these are the books I read this year. These are my favorite songs.
He certainly has influence.
Okay,
yeah.
So Barack Obama, former U.S. President Barack Obama, his first lady Michelle Obama, they have a production company named Higher Ground, and they are represented by the talent agency Creative Artists Agency, prominent Hollywood talent firm. And everything you just said, like they're on the Spotify, they're hanging out with Bruce Springsteen, like all these things seem really cool. They have just hired, is that what you do when you're an agency? Signed. Joe Biden to be one of the people that they represent. Richard Lovett, the co-chair of CAA, says President Biden is one of America's most respected and influential voices in national and global affairs. We are profoundly honored to partner with him again. So pause real quick. So they must have been the agency that represented him when he was a former VP.
Yeah, maybe even as a senator.
So what did he do? Oh, that's really interesting what you just said. Do elected officials, can they sign with agencies?
I would think at least maybe to some extent, because a number of them published books, right? I mean, we even know that Representative Chris Stewart here in Utah, he published dozens of books. He was one of the most prolific publishers during his time in Congress. Somebody has to publish those books.
Okay, so maybe the answer is you can be signed with an agency, you just can't make money off of it. Because I think there are rules in Congress about how much money you can earn, right?
Yeah, but this is a gray area. I don't know the rules specifically on this.
All right. CAA is a creative arts agency. The Obamas used their Higher Ground production company to make an Oscar-winning documentary. Former presidential nominee and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton also signed with CAA to represent her book projects. What do you think? So, all right, I guess he's going to write more books. Like, what do you think Joe Biden does?
I think we're probably looking at books. I mean, for somebody like the Obamas, when President Obama left office, it was sort of like, well, what does he do now? I mean, he was pretty young. And what do you do at that point? It's not like you're going to go out and get a 9-to-5 job as the former president of the United States. And you also don't want to just sit around and do nothing, right? Like, they still want to be involved. They still have things to offer to the country. I mean, even Jimmy Carter, right? Jimmy Carter had his Sunday school stuff, his humanitarian stuff. They all have something that they are involved in. What's interesting